Hey Qween!
Yeah. So you're starting BC Homestead. Tell me about that company.
Basically, it's the original hunk is, the working class man. It's, it's all this. It's not just horses and cowboy hats in the Southwest. I mean, it's timeless. It's guys from the 80s. It's got this sort of 80s, sort of 70s aesthetic. It's really meant to harken an era before, HIV/AIDS came into the picture. It's about a really unfettered, unbridled time, when it comes to men who have sex with men and all the ways they would find it. So we want to bring that back. It's extremely cinematic. It's highly narrative, showing and not telling. We're not putting words into people who are not actors' mouths.
Good idea.
But really, it's the aesthetic. It's the style. And it won't be tried or contrived. We really just want to simplify everything. But it's for people who, there are a lot of women who love porn, gay porn.
Yeah.
And
I've seen a Cocky Boys convention.
Absolutely.
It's like a lady festival.
And we have a tremendous amount of respect and love for those women because they are actually the women, the people that are getting their credit cards out and paying for the media that they consume. And so and they're also there with with every great opinion and all the encouragement, and we can't ignore that. So I consider a lot of what I want to do with the new studio in sort of that market. And that means lots of cinematic, sort of sexy without being gratuitous kind of stuff. But definitely, you'll see dick and hole.
Thank goodness. Oh, hooray, applause break for hole. Now, you're going to be doing it with your partner, slash fiance, slash ex,
right.
slash, there's so many slashes, y'all motherfuckers have been covered fully with Mr. JJ Knight. He's sitting in the back smiling. He's here today, so obviously you're not broken up, ? Because y'all's relationship has been covered like a lovely gay drama. And I saw y'all at the laundromat one time, and I was too shy to say hi.
Right, I was too shy to say hi, actually. I was like, I think maybe everyone has a twin, that's him.
I was like, BRENT CORRIGAN and JJ, I'm just gonna avoid saying hi because I'm too shy and just pretend that I'm really into this laundry.
Back then when we did laundry at the laundromat, it meant that we were really, really hard up to do our laundry. And so it was like, whatever you were wearing, no one in West Hollywood should see you in. And then you just run into someone sort of.
Here we are,
right.
both sitting on a laundromat. It is a great laundromat, though.
Oh yeah, it's clean and
It's
nice.
like my favorite one.
No air conditioning, it's great. No, so we did that, and JJ is.
Right, so what's the deal? Y'all have been together. Y'all have made some lovely films by the pool. Together, we make sweet love to each other's faces.
I think it's Loving Brent Corrigan by Naked Sword.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. If you want to see it.
Little known fact, they didn't tell him he was going to be a stunt cock, and we got in the middle of, excuse me, can I say that word?
Yes, you can.
And we get in the middle of production, and he realizes there's no close-ups on his face. And the woman who was producing was just like, oh, deal with it. And we're like, oh, okay. So we dealt with it. But it was great. We've done quite a bit together. We do cam shows together. It's complicated. I hate Facebook, but the one thing Facebook has done for us is allow us to say things like, it's complicated.
I agree, 100%.
And people accept it. Look, I wish I could give it a label. He even put a ring on me once, but I think that at this stage in our lives and given what we do, the smartest thing to do is just not talk about what we are doing together and how much we love each other and just do it.
Sure, sounds good. He's here now supporting you. That says some things. All right, we're gonna be back with much more BRENT CORRIGAN right after this. Yeah! I'm ready for hole! Yeah! We are back with the elusive chanteuse, Mr. BRENT CORRIGAN. Oh, honey. We were just talking to him during the break. It's really fun to have you because I know you don't always talk about this stuff in interviews, but you came in for Daddy McGee, and I love it.
Happy to be here.
Okay, let's go back in the time machine, shall we? BRENT, we're traveling through time. Here we are. We're back in Lewiston, Idaho. There's a young BRENT CORRIGAN skipping through. His name isn't BRENT CORRIGAN at that time. What was growing up for you like?
So I was born in Lewiston, and I grew up in Seattle. And actually in Mill Creek. Sorry, Mom and Dad. And I was gender confused.
Really?
My parents just let me grow out of it, and I was thankful. As I look back, like I knew they were frustrated. You know, I was that kid that ran around in a t-shirt and a rubber band around his waist with no shoes on his feet because he only had boy shoes. I was that kid.
Oh, wow.
And then I became, you know, then I went into media, and I kind of grew up, and it was really, really important to me to be very masculine. So picture it, I'm a kid, probably about 6, 7, 8, and I'm running around in a t-shirt and a rubber band around my waist, no shoes, because all I had was boy shoes.
Wow.
Yeah, and like that's how I'd spend my summers. And my parents were
just
so
turning it, serving it with your rubber band waist and your imaginary invisible heels. Because I know you were walking on the balls of your feet.
No. I stole a pair of Mary Jane's from a best friend of mine. So,
Lady Red, did you do that too?
Hey, you know I was already in it, running around like, what's up? I wasn't confused though. I knew I was a girl.
I just remember my parents like being frustrated and just being like, okay, you'll figure it out, and I did. And then like fast forward until about my mid-20s, and I did some drag, and even to this day, I highly subscribe to, you know, sort of like the androgynous kind of thing. I love my muscles, but I love my heels. I love some scantily stuff. I mean, I like corsets. I love fucking PVC. You know, I love the trashiest shit ever. Because that's sexy with a pair of muscles or like biceps. You know what I mean? That more than a pair.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just make a phone call. RuPaul's Drag Race, I have your newest contestant for season 11.
Honestly, I'd do it. If I went through drag, what they call like boot camp, and I had to spend a solid 8, 9 months, like I drop weight, I really work hard, I care a lot, I would work hard, but I'd have to do like a full introspective. And that's the thing, I would do it. Because I feel like what it also says is anyone who cares, who works hard, who really applies themselves can just about do anything. I'm not saying drag. Drag is hard. It's tough. Entertainment's tough.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anyone can do it. But if someone who works hard applies themselves, that would be it's the biggest thing we have in gay media right now.
Oh, it is.
And it's captured the zeitgeist, and it's amazing, and it's great to see that. I'd like to see other things happen for gay men, though.
I mean, what would you like to see?
I have this show that I've been proposing for a couple of years called Next Top Bottom.
I mean, I think they've tried to do Next Top Bottom for a while.
You haven't done it with BRENT CORRIGAN.
No, they have not.
So.
Brent, maybe we could talk about that later for this network.
Yeah.
Look, now take me back to the time in which you were a teenager. You were flitting around. You had stopped wearing invisible heels. You needed to make extra cash because you did not feel that your mom was necessarily able to provide.
Right.
And then you had a boyfriend who started getting you into the possibility of being an adult performer?
Right. I never even thought of it. I didn't even think anyone would ever want to watch me do that. So he applied to work for Cobra Video, and they said no because he wasn't quite their cup of tea. And
right. He was over 18.
He was over 18. He was also, unfortunately, just to be harsh to Cobra, because they were not good. He was not a good person. He was a one-man outfit.
I've seen the movie. He wasn't that great of a person.
Right. So he didn't hire non-white people. And my partner at the time was El Salvadorian. So he gets entree with me because, you know, I have this sexy hot boyfriend, and he's turning 18 on so-and-so. I was turning 17.
Right.
But before I worked, you know, I told the producer what was going on, and he gave me clear directions as to how to basically make it happen. So some IDs were changed digitally, sent off to him, and he accepted them, which are against the laws of 2257, which is the laws that govern record keeping.
Right.
Right. So it was, looking back, I knew I was doing something wrong. And I asked the adults and the people around me and even my partner, what's going to happen if we get in trouble? Am I going to get in trouble? And everyone said, it happens all the time. We do it all the time. Don't worry about it. But the worst of it was when the public found out. I was about 19, and the truth about my age kind of had started to circulate. Like I had my really huge 18th birthday in the Hollywood Hills off Beechwood Canyon Drive. And it was a Halloween party because I was born Halloween, and I had no clue that people were running around saying, "It's Brent Corrigan's 18th birthday. Here's the address."
Right.
Yeah, so fast forward 6 months later, and my producer's like, "Hey, there's this MySpace page, and you better keep our secret better."
Oh, snap.
Yeah, and then that's when the truth just got out of control. It just snowballed, and then a year later he was murdered, and Rolling Stone called me a toxic twink, and that's how my parents found out all about all this.
Twink.
Yeah.
You should make T-shirts now that say toxic twink.
And I'm not much of a twink though.
I
so.
know, but it still would look cute. What a head trip, though. Let's talk about what a head trip, because you meet the guy from Cobra. You basically move into that house, right? You're making movies. It's like you're almost in a bubble, because even when the movies became big hits, and you were basically a new sex icon very quickly.
I had no clue.
You had no clue. You were like cleaning up the living room at the house for extra cash.
Dude, I painted the side of his house. And then this woman came down first summer, because it was spending my summers there. And Brian had this guy who was kind of his weasel, his sort of main man, steal New York Tisch Institute fucking letterhead.
Wow.
Sent my mother a letter saying that I had been accepted into this summer internship program.
Wow.
So that I could go and spend my summer underage at Brian Coach's house, being basically his Cobra video bitch. So I remember being there, painting the side of his house, and this woman marches down. She's, "How old are you?" And I said, 18. She's like, I'm like, my ID's inside. My fake ID, which fucking is fake, like really fake. And she, "No, you can give it to the authorities, because they're gonna be here and they're gonna look at your ID." And I freaked, and I was like, shit. So I went inside, I packed my stuff, and I went and spent 2 weeks in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, hiding.
I gotta duck the cops, they're coming!
Right, because I just knew that if anyone's getting in trouble, it wouldn't be Brian. I believed it was gonna be me.
Right, because you were a kid.
I was 17.
So of course you thought you were gonna get in trouble.
Of course, none of this is in that Cobra movie.
No, I mean, look, we need to go deep in another segment on the Cobra movie and your whole thought about that. But I just want to go through this again, because I just feel like, so when did you realize you were famous? When did you realize in that sort of bubble you were in, that like, wait a minute, everybody is watching these movies that I'm in, and it was before you got outed as being under 18, but when you were trying to get out from that Cobra bubble?
Never thought I was famous, and even to this day, don't like the F word. I specifically remember a forum called Juicy Goo. For real.
Lady Red, your forum from back in the day. Juicy Goo.
So this forum, I didn't realize what an impact I was making even before all the controversy, and they were really supportive of me. They kept Brian Coaches and Cobra from attacking me too heavily on there. But that was when I first began to interact with my fans and viewers and kind of get my story out there. And Jason Seacrest had a site called jasoncurious.com, and he was very helpful. But bit by bit, the thing that held us all back was an injunction on my name, because Brian filed the Pennsylvania trademark claiming that Brent Corrigan was a character I played.
Yeah, they took your damn name that you made up out of the phone book.
Yeah, well, yes, I mean, Brent I took because I was being malleable, and the producer liked Brent Everett.
Okay.
And Corrigan I chose because I really, really needed something that was of Scots or Irish descent, so that's Irish. Scots Irish, Blackfeet Indian, and that was important to me, and I just pulled that out of a phone book, the Corrigan.
Right.
Yeah.
So you were basically in a battle for your name, and that's how the whole murder thing came about, right? Because those guys wanted to sign you, and then they started doing shady dealings with him. Would you want to give me what your look back take on that whole thing is? Because what a crazy situation to be in as a teenager.
So I learned more about these men through the investigation than I knew before. It doesn't mean much now, but going through all that, it's one of these things, it's fate. Like somehow one day you get on MySpace and someone sends you a message and you reply, and before you know it, they've murdered someone you know. So it sounds ridiculous, but it was a couple of AIM conversations, one meal during the Avian Internext Expo during the Gavian Awards one year, and they came out but avoided all the industry events. And they met with Grant Roy and I, who was my partner at the time and my business partner, and who also was written out of that movie, by the way.
Right.
Inappropriate. So we had this really expensive meal at Le Cirque, and it was like outlandish, and I was 20, and I started drinking early, not believing I was gonna have a glass of wine offered to me for every course. And in the middle of this dinner, probably toward the end, we start talking about Brian and the civil suit. We talk about the delays and what's going on, and of course they want to work with us. That's what all of this is about.
Right.
These guys want to work with us. One of them says, "Well, what if he just goes away? Well, what if he just goes on vacation, doesn't come back?" And I remember being like, "Well, he's just gonna come. He'll just come back." And they were like, "No, if he goes to Canada and doesn't come back." And that's when Grant was like, "No, guys, no, you don't get it. That doesn't need to happen." And
Wow.
that was it. That was the last time it was brought up until they called me one day at work, and they were like, "My guy went a little overboard. Go to the site, WNEP.com, and there it is, 60 Midland Drive, the top story right there on the website. Home set ablaze, man found, or body found inside. They couldn't even identify the sex.
Wow.
He's been stabbed 28 times, had his throat slit so deeply that it was nearly decapitated, and they couldn't identify who he was.
Sheesh. And how old are you when this is happening?
I was 20.
Oh, Lord. So what do you think when you get that news? Like, oh, fuck, they're going to think I have something to do with it? Or, oh, fuck, like, what do you think?
You're like, when your stomach somehow is over there, it's like over there now, and it's never coming back.
Yeah.
It's like, it's worse than like when you're on the zipper at the fair. Siren set you off, CSI, forget about it. You'll never, ever, ever look at at someone who's been hurt, or watch a movie where there's violence, or even see a horror film over again. If you're anywhere on the peripheral of something like that happening to someone you kind of know, forget about it. Your life will always, always be different. And I was not guilty of anything. But when you are that inexperienced and that ill-prepared, it took them that long. And finally I sat with them for 3 days, and I cleared my name, and it was just, a year and a half later, they never announced that we were just witnesses.
Right.
And even when it was all done and everyone said, he murdered that guy, no one came back and said, guess what, I was wrong.
Right.
So, no. And then when it was all right.
That's fucked up, Brent.
Tell you what, yeah. So what happened is we went back to work. We just went back to work, and it was nice. And instead of dealing with it, this is where I made the biggest mistake of my life, was not going to therapy.
Uh-huh.
Because I needed to go to therapy.
Yes, I bet you did. That is a lot. That's a lot, Brent. You were an underage porn star who lived in a secret life. There was a murder. All of it. Oh, we got plenty more to talk about right after this when we come back with BRENT CORRIGAN. Marty! Hey!
Children, to see part 3 of this interview, click here. To see more Hey Qween fabulousness, click here. And don't forget to subscribe, bitch! Hey! Hey! Hey!